Between the stories we tell, there are the stories that shape them. While we prepare for the next season of Haunted UK Fiction, we're taking a moment to step away from the stories and into their origins. Ink and Influence is a short-form series exploring the authors, ideas, and moments that gave rise to some of the darkest and most enduring works of fiction. In this episode, we turn our attention to Mary Shelley and the creation of one of the most influential works of gothic fiction, Frankenstein. The story of how Frankenstein came to be has become part of literary legend. In 1816, Mary Shelley travelled to Switzerland with Percy Shelley, the celebrated romantic poet who would later become her husband. Together they joined another literary giant of the age, Lord Byron, at a villa overlooking Lake Geneva. The gathering brought together some of the most creative and unconventional minds of the era. Poetry, philosophy, politics, science, and the supernatural were all subjects of conversation, often stretching long into the night. The weather that year was unusual, cold, stormy, unrelenting. What the group didn't realize was that the strange conditions were the result of a volcanic eruption on the other side of the world. The eruption of Mount Tambora in present-day Indonesia had filled the atmosphere with ash, lowering temperatures across the globe and creating what would later become known as the year without a summer. Confined indoors by relentless rain and darkened skies, the group entertained themselves by reading collections of German ghost stories. Eventually, Lord Byron proposed a challenge. Each person would write a supernatural tale of their own. Mary struggled at first, and days passed without an idea. Surrounded by some of the most brilliant literary minds of the age, she worried that she had nothing worthy to contribute. While the others discussed philosophy, science, and the nature of life itself, Mary listened, searching for the spark that would become her story. Then one night, after listening to conversations about electricity, scientific experimentation, and the possibility that life might one day be manipulated or even restored, she experienced what she later described as a waking dream. She saw a young scientist kneeling beside something he'd assembled, and she saw that creation begin to move. That image would become Frankenstein. But to understand why the story resonated so deeply, it helps to understand Mary Shelley herself. Mary was born in 1797 to two of the most influential intellectuals in England. Her mother was Mary Wollstonecraft, author of A Vindication of the Rights of Women, a groundbreaking work that challenged society's assumptions about women and education. Her father was William Godwin, a philosopher, novelist, and political thinker whose writings influenced generations of reformers and writers. Mary inherited an extraordinary intellectual legacy, but it came at a terrible cost. Her mother died less than 2 weeks after giving birth to her, and Mary grew up knowing her mother only through stories, letters, and books. This loss would become a recurring theme throughout her life. By the time she arrived in Switzerland, Mary had already endured heartbreak, scandal, and grief. Her relationship with Percy Shelley had attracted significant controversy, and she had experienced the death of her first child. Many scholars believe these experiences found their way into Frankenstein. After all, the novel is fundamentally concerned with life, death, creation, and loss. It asks difficult questions about what it means to bring life into the world, and what responsibilities come with doing so. This is perhaps the greatest misconception about Frankenstein. Many people assume Frankenstein is the monster. He isn't. Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein to be precise, is the scientist in the story. The creature itself is never given a name, and more importantly, it's not inherently evil. When the creature first enters the world, it's curious, sensitive, and intelligent. It learns language, admires beauty, and longs for companionship. Its tragedy is not that it is born a monster. Its tragedy is that it is treated like one. Rejected by society and abandoned by its creator, the creature gradually becomes what others expect it to be. Shelley's true horror lies not in the act of creation, but in the consequences of responsibility ignored. At the time Shelley was writing, scientific discovery was advancing rapidly. Experiments involving electricity had captured the public imagination, and researchers were investigating the nature of life itself. Italian scientist Luigi Galvani had demonstrated that electrical stimulation could cause the muscles of dead animals to twitch and move, leading some to speculate whether electricity might one day restore life itself. These ideas fascinated Shelley, but rather than celebrating scientific progress, she pushed the concept towards its darkest conclusion. What happens if we succeed? What responsibilities come with creation? And what happens when ambition outruns wisdom? In many ways, Frankenstein became one of the first true science fiction novels. While earlier stories contained fantastical inventions and speculative ideas, Shelley grounded her tale in contemporary scientific thought and emerging technologies. The result was something entirely new, a story that was simultaneously gothic horror, philosophical reflection, and scientific explanation. Its influence cannot be overstated. Any story involving artificial life, rogue technology, genetic engineering, cloning, or artificial intelligence owes something to Frankenstein. More than 2 centuries after its publication, the novel continues to shape our understanding of both horror and science fiction. And perhaps the reason it endures is because its central questions remain unresolved. We continue to advance, discover, invent, and push the boundaries of what's possible. And we still must ask what happens when we bring something into the world that we cannot control. A question that seems more relevant than ever with the increase in the use and development of AI. Perhaps that is why Frankenstein remains so powerful, not because it tells us what to think, but because it asks questions we still cannot answer. Questions about responsibility, humanity, creation, and the consequences of playing God. If you enjoyed this, you'll find more stories waiting in our feed, and a new season not far behind. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay safe and take care.